everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our 6th episode of NAMI Coffee Talks, a podcast designed to resemble a tight-knit discussion about mental health while sharing a cup of coffee. I'm your host, Helen Hu, and today I'll be interviewing founder and executive director of the Eating Disorders Resource Center of Silicon Valley, Janice Bremis. Without further ado, hi Janice, I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you, Helen. We're just so excited that you're using this great tool to help us raise awareness about eating disorders. So we're very grateful to you and to NAMI.
Thank you.
Yeah. Eating disorders are a serious mental illness. And our goal, I founded the organization for the purpose of raising awareness and helping people get recovered through support services, as well as advocating for parity, for mental health parity. If you have a disease like leukemia or another life-threatening disease, you can get medical coverage for it. But for eating disorders, along with some mental illnesses, it's really hard to get treatment for that. And so we started in 2006, and we basically all volunteers. I'm a volunteer too. We have one paid part-time staff. Our programs include awareness, reaching out and educating students, teachers, healthcare professionals, the general community on how to recognize symptoms of eating disorders and what to do if they think they know someone who has an eating disorder. And also to raise awareness about the devastating effects that it has, not only on the mind, but also on the body. It affects almost every organ in your body. And then last is the advocacy part that we do. We have one of our volunteers is going to Capitol Hill on September 23rd, but she will be there virtually this year because they weren't able to meet in person. And she'll be talking to our elected officials about how much we need research money, how much we need money for treatment, how much we need parity laws so that people aren't denied treatment. So we get a lot of eating disorder patients that need residential care and the insurance denies it. However, if they had a substance abuse, that they would be able to get treatment. So it's kind of a differences there.
I see. I love how your organization holistically kind of focuses on eating disorders. You don't just focus on education, you also do advocacy, and you also focus on treatment as well. So just to bring more clarity and understanding for our listeners before we dive in, could you briefly explain what eating disorders are? What are the common symptoms, and what is the nature of an eating disorder?
Yeah, as I said just now, I think eating disorders are serious physical and mental health conditions that can have life-threatening consequences for people who suffer from them, as well as their families. The causes of eating disorders are very complex, and it results from a combination of genetic, social, interpersonal, and psychological factors. These eating disorders include anorexia, bulimia, binge eating, but all of them basically are a symptom of a mental illness. So there's an underlying mental illness, whether it's anxiety, which is very common for people with eating disorders, whether it's OCD, whether it's depression, whether it's bipolar. The eating disorder is the symptom. So yet like other substance abuses, you cannot you can remove the liquor and you can remove the substance that they're abusing, but you can't remove food because we need food to live. So you have to learn how to deal with that.
I see. Yeah. So basically, when you have an eating disorder, you not only need to treat the eating disorder itself, but also the underlying mental illness that it originated from.
Exactly, Helen. Very good. Okay.
Right.
That is a huge thing, though, for us to raise awareness, because I was talking to a funder today, and she said, oh, our priorities are mental health is what our funding priorities are. And she said, eating disorders doesn't fall in that category. And I said, oh, and then I realized I have to do a lot of education to help this funder understand that eating disorders is a mental illness. So that's a constant challenge.
Right, for sure. And speaking of education, over the past 14 years, the Eating Disorders Resource Center has educated over 8,900 health professionals, which is so impressive. So how did Eating Disorders Resource Center grow over time since you founded it in 2006? And is there anything that you have learned in this process?
Okay. Well, we've grown in the number and healthcare professionals we can educate because we came up with an idea that we bring our program and education to the site. So for example, the physicians have monthly CME meetings, continuing medical education meetings. So rather than set up a meeting and invite them to come to our meeting, we go to the meeting. We go to NAMI and educate their staff. We go to Bill Wilson Center and educate their staff. So we bring the meetings to the public too, and to libraries where people are already gathering. So we found that that really increases the amount of people we can reach.
Awesome. So you've talked about education, and let's move on to advocacy. Why do you believe it's so important to advocate for change, and what have you guys done in the past for this?
Okay. I guess advocacy right now is like, I get a million calls about, well, not a million, but many of our calls are from patients who cannot get their insurance, whether it's Medicare, Medi-Cal, Kaiser, United Behavioral Health, to cover the treatment they need to recover. We have to help them advocate. Many times we've had to go to the California Department of Managed Healthcare and fight for their coverage. It's one thing that is still a stumbling block. I know stigma and shame and not wanting to admit that you have an eating disorder is a barrier to treatment, but the second barrier is the obstacle that insurers put by not covering treatment. So I still, there's a fine line there where we need to advocate. Our legislatures need to, we write to our legislators, we go to the Capitol so that they can become more aware of it. Because it's one of those things where whoever has the squeakiest voice gets what they need. So yeah, so we definitely have to fight for that. And also when the people are struggling with eating disorders, they don't have the energy and the even the brain capacity sometimes to fight for themselves. I think it's like a lot of other mental illnesses. You know, people with families with schizophrenia, they're constantly advocating for their loved one because the person with schizophrenia is not in a place where he or she can advocate for their health care.
That's why it's so important for us to be allies for other people and to help other people as well. Let's go back a little bit in the timeline. Let's go back to when you first founded the Eating Disorders Resource Center. Was there a reason why you founded this, and what was the journey like?
Yeah, I was finding there was not a lot of resources for people or families that were dealing with this issue and even wondering if their loved one had an eating disorder. So I started calling around the local hospitals. I called Stanford, Lucille Packard, Valley Medical, and I was asking, you know, where can we send people who are struggling with eating disorders? And they said, and we have good research programs going on at Stanford. We have the best research programs going on, but there was no services for adults or youth. Lucille Packard has a children's unit at El Camino Hospital, but other than that, there's no services, there's no treatment programs, there was nothing. So I decided to, in my talking with all these people, they said, oh, if you could only be a resource center, and we can send all our patients to you so you can help educate them and help support them in the recovery. So I see us as kind of like a lymphoma leukemia society or a cancer society, but only dedicated to eating disorders. We also love NAMI, and NAMI is very supportive of our program, but they didn't know what to do with eating disorder patients. So they were saying, can we send you eating disorder patients? So that's kind of how we started. And ever since, the need has grown. There's been more and more, and the need is there. And we continue to raise awareness that there is a huge need.
That's awesome. I love how you took a passion of yours, something that you really want to fight for, and then you fill the need, and you kind of serve as a beacon of light for eating disorders now in our community. So that's amazing. And you've talked a little bit more about stigma and the effects that can have on a personal level and then also on a larger level. So are there any harmful myths about eating disorders that you want to clear up?
Yeah, there are several. First of all, people think that it's all young girls between the 12 and 21, when it affects every ethnic group, every age, every sexuality, every men, women, and it's not just reserved for young girls. And sometimes it's thought of as a rich people, the rich people get it because, you know, you can never be too skinny or rich, that kind of saying. But so there is a lot of and also the way the person looks. People think that you could tell that someone has an eating disorder by looking at them. But if I'm looking at you right now, I can't tell if you have an eating disorder. You could be secretly struggling with possibly binge eating or restricting or exercising like 10 hours a day to like reduce your calories that you've eaten. So that's a huge stigma or a myth that I'd like to check. And also that it's genetic. It definitely is genetic. I mean, the environment plays a part, but it definitely is genetic. So it runs in families. And the other one is that families cause eating disorders, and that's not true either. Eating disorders are caused by, like I said, several things: the temperament of the person, their background, what if they're predisposed. I say it's kind of like the 3 Ps, you know, a certain personality type, and if your family or a loved one had the illness, you're predisposed, okay? So then something happens, a precipitating event, and that could be something like having your wisdom teeth pulled, and you lose a little bit of weight, and your classmate says, "Oh, you look so good. How did you do that?" And then the person who had the teeth pulled and is losing weight gets a sense of, oh, like gets reinforced, and that becomes kind of something powerful and all consuming. And then there's the perpetuating. So once the eating disorder starts, it becomes like a habit actually, and it's like it becomes part of your daily life, and it's really hard. The longer you struggle with the eating disorder, the harder it is to recover. And that's because you get into the behaviors, like behaviors with drugs and alcohol. And our goal is to help healthcare professionals and families and the community identify that early and get them the level of care and the expert care they need to recover. Because if not, it will perpetuate. And we have many clients who are, like right now I have one 47-year-old one 75-year-old one 62-year-old one, men and women who are all struggling with various eating disorder problems.
I see. So remember the 3 Ps: predisposed, precipitating, and perpetuating. I love that. Yeah, and I definitely agree with you. I think there is a common notion that eating disorders only affect a certain group of people, and that might be perpetuated, you know, by media or movies, but I'm glad that, you know, you cleared that up and there has been more conversation around this topic.
Yeah, I recently found out that a food editor, a national well-known food editor, struggles with bulimia, and it was like, oh my gosh, but they don't speak about it because the person, especially people that struggle with binge eating or bulimia, they're very reluctant to share it with someone. But the first step to recovery is sharing with someone that you are struggling. That's the first step. And then sometimes people with anorexia are very happy having the illness because it's considered, they feel in control and they're proud. They could be really, really skinny and they could be so proud that they're so thin and their weight is so low. So sometimes they don't realize how sick they are. And that's similar to schizophrenia. People with schizophrenia may not realize they have to take their meds or they have to do treatment for the schizophrenia. Just like for anorexia, people may not get treatment because they feel that they're okay with how they are.
Right. So it's kind of like making sure that you have people around you who are supporting you, even when, you know, you may be going through something.
Right. That's the hugest, the main thing. And I can also say that sometimes this is a really devastating illness for the family. You know, most illnesses can be devastating to the family, but this one is especially tough because the family cannot understand why the child is thinking the way he or she is, why they're eating or not eating the way he or she is. They just can't fathom it. And it's so different that that it's really hard on the families. And families, what they say, whatever I say, my child gets upset. You know, if I say, oh, you look well today, they'll say, oh, that means I look fat? I look fat? When they're just saying you look well. Or, you know, just any kind of comment, it can be taken the wrong way.
And I'm sure that could be really burdening on the parents as well, because all they want to do is help out. And so you know, it's glad that you guys are a resource center. And let's say for all the parents who are currently watching this, if they're concerned or their friends are concerned that their child has an eating disorder, what should they do?
Oh, please call us, 408-356-1212. The phone is, I'm here 24/7 a day, and they can call me anytime, and I can connect them with education and support and resources to help them deal with this. I kind of see, like when I was diagnosed with lymphoma, non-Hodgkin's, I went immediately to the Lymphoma Leukemia Society, and they were so helpful. They educated me. They got me in touch with support groups. And so I feel like we kind of do that same thing. So feel free to call us. We have a really comprehensive website, E as in Edward, D as in dog, R as in race, C as in cat, S as in Sam, V as in Victor.org, and maybe you can put that up.
Yeah, I'll put both
Yeah.
on the description.
And then, and we have, it's very comprehensive, but it'll have tips for family members. It has a list of all the eating disorder experts. We have a team of dietitians, therapists, physicians, psychiatrists who actually treat eating disorders. So if you're at a loss, we can help you. That's where we do a lot of work too, is helping people find treatment providers. And then we also have our donors listed and our volunteers, and we have lots of student volunteers. So that's why I'm so grateful for you, Helen, because some of our best volunteers are students, and it's so heartwarming because it just brings a real energy to. I like coming to work because of my students. But,
That's awesome.
they bring a lot of energy and a lot of creative ideas too. So yeah, and then we also have a screening test that you could take to see if you think you might have an eating disorder. And yeah, and pretty much everything we have on our website. But if you have questions about it, you can always call me. We're right here, or email us, info@edrcsb.org.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'll definitely repeat all of the links that you said earlier later on in this podcast at the end, and I'll also put in the description. So if any of you guys want to learn more, that's where you can find it. Let's talk about COVID-19 now. I'm sure that this has been on everybody's mind, and after 5 months of quarantine, we all know the effects that can have on someone, right? Even the most secured, the strongest person has had some kind of change to their structured life, and they may feel more isolated. What observations has the Eating Disorders Resource Center made about eating disorders in the past couple of months?
Surprisingly, there's been a lot more calls and a lot more people reaching out for help. And it's because of several reasons. It's because of the isolation, but it's also because their routines are interrupted. So they're not going to school, they're not going to work. So a husband sees his wife, eat, and then he notices that she's eating and throwing up, and he wouldn't notice that normally because maybe she would do it at work, or the behaviors seem more, you're around the behaviors, so you see that more. And also because we can't socialize. And that's one of the things about eating disorders is eating disorders is like your pal, it's your friend. And it becomes so important to you that I say it's like you have an ed voice in your head, an ED voice. And so when we're isolated and we remove from our friends and family, and we can't do our normal activities like go to work and socialize, or go to the gym and go to church, all these things that we thrive as individuals, we thrive on other people and social situations. It's very hard to live isolated. And plus people financially, it's hard for them financially. They're not having insurance coverage, so they can't get treatment. So it's really cost a lot. The one good thing of it is that it's made our team learn how to do a lot of stuff online. Right. So our support groups are online now. Our education is online. So we've all become Zoom experts, and actually we're reaching more people, because a lot of times people wouldn't come to an in-person support group because maybe they were embarrassed, but people feel more comfortable online. So in that regards, we have some greater amount of patients. but they still miss the in-person part, being able to see a therapist in person. You know, there's only so much you could do online. So
Yeah. So there's good and then there's bad, and we're all kind of adapting and, you know,
yeah.
making what we can out of the situation, which is the most that we can do. And just to finish things off, are there any upcoming events that you want our listeners to know about?
Well, of course, we want them to know about the NAMI virtual walk in
Yeah.
September. That's coming up. So mark your calendar for that. It's actually going to be really fun this year. They're having dogs compete and lots of entertainment. So it's kind of cool. And then we have a series called Ask the Experts that we run several times a month. And we invite experts in, whether they're psychiatrists or dietitians or therapists, to come in, and we choose a topic, and then people can call in and ask the topic, ask questions about it. So so that's coming up. And so we've had two really successful. We had a dietitian and we had a physician who's treated eating disorder for years, well known in the community. And we invite ahead of time people to call or send in or call in their questions, and then we have the speaker present and they answer the questions and talk more. So we found that's been very, it seems like a lot of people are doing Ask the Experts these days, or maybe it just seems like it to me, but yeah, I thought that's one good thing we're doing.
Great, and I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in those Ask the Expert episodes. Do you have any opportunities that are coming up for youth that you want to share about?
Oh, my most favorite one every year, we've been doing it for 14 years, is the Everybody's Beautiful writing contest, and it's BE and then YOU tipo. We go out into the schools, we touch every school district, and there's 25 school districts in Santa Clara or in Silicon Valley, and we invite students to answer questions. Specifically, many of them are about how the media affects their image of themselves, how Facebook affects their image, how do they talk to someone that they think might be depressed? How do you help a friend who might be depressed? And so we get so many awesome poems and pieces, essays that are just there. We have them listed on our website, the top ones, but every year they keep getting better. I go, this is the best one ever, and the next year gets better. But I just think that's a really cool way. And we give prize awards. So we had 235 and we gave out 5,000 in prizes. So it's kind of fun. This year we couldn't do the award ceremony though. So we got a little creative, and we mailed them their award in the check, and then they put a picture of themselves and send it back. So
that's so cute.
Yeah, so we had to become creative. But we're already starting for our next year, and I can send you that flyer too. So
okay, yeah, awesome.
Credit.
Maybe, I can put it in the description below as well. Yeah, so to any people who are high school students or middle school students, make sure to go check out that writing contest. And also to any people who just want to see the responses, you can look at the website and the link that I put in the description to see some nice, authentic expression of our youth. Once again, to all of our listeners, Eating Disorders Resource Center has a myriad of resources to share with you all. Earlier, Janice mentioned their website, EDRCSV.org, which includes all of their resources and so much more for you to look at, and their warm line, which is 408-356-1212. Also, you can email them at info@edrcsv.org. And don't worry, all of these are linked in the description below, so you can go check them out and make sure to do it right now. Also, please make sure to follow NAMI Santa Clara County on our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn to get updates. And also subscribe to our Spotify, iTunes, or YouTube channel, whatever you're using to watch this, to listen to any future episodes we have. With that said, thank you so much, Janice. I'm so happy to have you here, and I believe we had a great discussion.
Thank you, Helen, very much. And thank you, NAMI. We love NAMI.
Great. And one final message that we have. Cheers.
Cheers.
See you next time.
Bye.